All right, MSP leaders, if you struggle with profitability in your projects, you are not alone. Many MSPs have trouble maximizing the profitability on that specific work when it should be one of the most profitable things you do. We're going to dig into 3 processes that you can do to improve profitability in your projects and some general hygiene that's going to help you significantly improve your output. So here's the typical scenario. You have a client who has some sort of technology debt that you want to fix. You hope it's going to improve their position, improve their security, or maybe reduce the work that you have to provide to keep that system running. You give them a quote, you deliver the service, but you find out it's more work than you were estimating, and you eat a lot of hours trying to reverse that technology debt. This can happen for many reasons, so we're going to start by digging into the 3 most common quoting processes, talk about the pros and cons of each of them and how you can move up that chain to maximize profitability. Now, we would normally do a good, better, best when it comes to quoting options, but we're going to start off with bad and go to better and best because this first one we really need to eliminate, and that is the dreaded not to exceed. Now, not to exceed is challenged because we are maximized at 1x our hourly rate or our project hourly rate when we're doing the math. And while it can be okay, too many times we run into challenges that go beyond our estimate or go beyond that exceed dollar figure, and all of a sudden it's dipping in and reversing the profitability. Now, number 2 is the safest and easiest, which is hourly with estimates. Now, the downside to this is it can be a little more challenging to sell because if we run into problems, the client may have to pay more because we may have more work than we established. But at the end of the day, whatever work we have to put into it is the right amount of work because it took that much time to correct the technology debt. Now, there's a couple of challenges with hourly work. We have to make sure we add a few things into it, which we'll touch on in a second. But it's the safest one because if we work an hour, we bill an hour. Pretty straightforward. Now, our third quoting option is fixed fee. And while it sounds a lot like not to exceed, the difference is the faster we work or the more efficient we are with the labor, the more we make per hour. It allows us to maximize profitability, but there is some risk there because if we didn't quote it out right, we could still go over that number and lose profitability. So while there's a big benefit to fixed fee, we don't want to jump into it without a lot of preparation and information on past projects to help us set those rates. All right, so to talk through how to move up that ladder, we're going to start really easy with the first step by just eliminating not to exceed. By starting your path at hourly with estimates, you can guarantee that every work hour you put in, you get paid for. So it's the safest route, and it's going to give you at least 1x your hourly project rate. So the real question is, how do we move from hourly work to fixed fee work so that we can maximize that rate potential? And it's going to start with really good project hygiene. This is the most important part of any project. Now, some general things to follow in that hourly with estimates is making sure you actually do the process of estimating the work. Not what you could do it in, but what you will do it in. Understanding the difference between the two, the situations, the travel time, the project management, adding in the design, doing all those things that are going to be inclusive or necessary for that project. Make sure they are in the estimate so that we can track time against them and get paid for it. So once we have a great estimate, we have to do a kickoff with our project team so that they understand what's expected of them. If you're putting 40 hours on a project, but the technical team doesn't know, they're just going to take as long as it takes. And while we would want that to fall under the budget, by giving everyone a goal, they'll at least understand and know when to raise their hand and say, hey, we have a problem with the budget. And whether it's a change order that needs to be put in, a design problem, or maybe a resource problem, we can attack that problem right away, early on in the project process to try and save as much as we can. Next, and this is the tough one, we need project management and time entry. It's really what the project manager is all about, communicating challenges with the client, making sure that change orders are being processed and paid, and ensuring that the technical resources are properly putting their time in so it can be tracked through the progress of the project. Now, while project management can be a pain at times, it is critical to have someone overseeing the progression of a project. A lot of times we'll get 99% of the way through the hours budget and still have 35% of the project left to go. If we haven't dealt with change orders, if we haven't dealt with configuration issues or resource issues up to that point, we're going to eat the rest of those hours. And if we haven't added in travel time, after hours rates, or those change order processes, it is highly likely, even with an hourly estimate, that we might miss out on profitability in a project. So defining that stuff early, making sure it's in your estimate is critical. It's why we say hourly with estimates. We build that out so the customer knows what to expect. And in projects, all of those things should be baseline requirements. The next piece is really important in our efficiency going forward, and that is going to be project postmortems. And this is where the majority of MSPs struggle to learn from their mistakes. Too many times MSPs have a failed project, they don't want to talk about it again, and they move on to the next one, repeating the failure over and over again. By leveraging a project review process, you can find those challenges on the first try and avoid repeating that same problem on the second project. It is really the only way to move from hourly with estimates to fixed fee projects, because we have to review and find out how we did based on our estimates. So if we're killing it when it comes to project hygiene, and we're moving to our project postmortems and we're hitting our budget every single time, it is now time to look at moving to fixed fee. Now the question you might be asking is, why would I move from hourly with estimates, which is guaranteed profitability, to a fixed fee project? And it comes down to the maximum profitability, because we would expect fixed fee projects to come in at around 1.25x, or a multiple of 1.25 your project hourly rate. So for simple math, if you charge $200 an hour for your project labor, we're going to expect the effective hourly rate on a fixed fee project to be around $250 an hour, meaning you're making more money in the same amount of time. Now, there's a couple ways to go about this. We could say I have a $100 project. I'm going to multiply that by 1.25 and charge that amount. Now that's going to give you a buffer of hours and some additional cash, but it doesn't really incentivize the efficiency and effectiveness of the project. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just one way of going about it. The other way is to say, I have a $100 project. We're going to get this done in 80 hours because of our team and our processes and our efficiencies. We're still charging $100 for it because that's what it should take, but we're just going to get it done faster. And we gain our additional revenue through the efficiencies. You can also do a combination of both, where we get some efficiency and we add some buffer in there. But at the end of the day, the fixed fee target, again, is 1.25x. Now we have to have some history of beating our project estimates so that we can add that efficiency in and take the risk that we won't go over. And that's it. So if you're not as profitable as you want to be, you can look to move up that profitability ladder first by eliminating not to exceed, because that's just a challenge and we have a lot of risk with not to exceed, but moving at least to hourly with estimates. And once you're there, we're going to really focus on project hygiene, getting good estimates, doing kickoff calls, adding project management in, making sure time entry is solid, ensuring things like after hours, travel, and change orders are added to the project when they're necessary. And always, always, always finishing with a project review so that you can know how well you did based on the estimates you made. From there, once you've been consistent with hitting your estimates, you can start looking to move towards fixed fee for known projects. Now the caveat here is projects that you don't know, just fall back to hourly with estimates. If you haven't done it before or you're not sure about it, fall back to the safest one. And then once you've done that project a few times, you can switch it to fixed fee and target that 1.25x so you can maximize profitability going forward. I'm Jim Peterson, Principal Solution Advisor at ConnectWise, and we are here to help. Our whole goal is to help MSP leaders achieve their goals, and we're here for you. Whether it's pricing, project processes, events, or finding the right staff, we got your back, so hit us up. And until next time, thank you very much.